Well, good evening, welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Foxter, on the show as All Bear, Bridgeman, Juicy Bear and Southside. Evening, chaps.
Evening, Ox. Evening, guys.
A big good evening to everyone.
On you go, Bridge.
I've just said a big good evening to everyone tonight. Good evening.
Evening, Juicy.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Thank you for having me.
And the one and only Southside. Evening, Biggin.
Evening, Ox. All right, Trips, and good evening, everyone listening in this evening.
Southside, are any of these scurrilous rumours I've been hearing about you true?
What type of rumours would that be? Involving anything like?
A well-known American soft drink?
I would say mistaken identity, probably.
Okay, have you got an alibi?
If you spoke to a lawyer, I've always got an alibi, mate.
All right, okay. Oh, you must have the same lawyer as Bridge. How we doing, Bridge, man?
I'm doing excellent, pal, really. I'm just looking forward to this, I tell you that. I'm looking forward to the gradual start up again. Wind everything up. Let's go.
And I was watching the golf today. It was just like watching All Bear.
Aye.
Well, All Bear was just saying how good he is. He was actually bragging about how good he was.
Okay, steady you. Yeah, grip back into your tree now. Come on. First comment of the season, you're at it.
New clubs and new bag. Amazing.
That's Southside got all that. He's got a new kit now. He's ready to rock and roll.
He's ready to rock and roll, isn't he?
I could tell you a story about that. Let's just say it concerns Donny Sports, but that's all I'm going to say. Carry on, All Bear.
Top class equipment. Top class.
How are you, All Bear?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm above the gun, so I'm happy.
Every day's a bonus, mate, innit?
Yeah, aye, well, definitely.
Every day's
That's the way I'm looking for
it. And Juicy, how are you, mate?
Well, I'm enjoying the summer sport, but it's time's getting on now, and it's time to get into the real sport that we've all been waiting for. That's talking about the Glasgow Rangers, and sooner we can get into some more pre-season friendlies, the better, gentlemen.
Yeah. Obviously, we've got a game tomorrow at Blackpool, and we'll touch that. But Southside, what's your thoughts on what's moved in the transfer market with our club so far?
I think it's positive, mate. We were all looking for a striker, so I think we've got a striker in. Looks to have not a bad goals record, and I think we've sort of covered the right hand side now with the boy Rabbi Matondo. Sounds a bit like a motorbike or something, doesn't it, Matondo? But he seems to be a flying machine down the wing, isn't he? So it's positive, mate. And obviously we're looking at one or two others, I believe. I think that Malik Tillman's getting touted this evening, possibly on a loan. Obviously we've got Suter that we done in the pre-contract.
Southside, it's just broke. We have signed him.
Have we signed that Malik Tillman? Aye.
Malik Tillman on a season-long loan. Literally just broke. Literally, as you said, the birds, mate. How?
Right.
That was him announcing it.
Well, it's positive, Ox, isn't it? It's a positive. He's especially coming from a club like Bayern Munich.
I don't know what you thought, All Bear. I thought it was great we signed Rabbi on the 12th.
Check that was man. James was timed perfection. Oh dear. Aye, it's. I mean, I'm going to say Southside. I mean, the positions that need addressed have been addressed. How good the players are, I mean, I really couldn't tell you because I don't know much about them. But we've signed the right players because these are the positions that need the positions of the team that need strengthening. So we've strengthened them. So we'll see what happens now.
That was one thing that pleased me. I'll go to Juicy with a Sten Bridge. That was one thing that pleased me with our sort of Christmas signings. And I'm not saying any of the two of them worked out, but it was the two positions that we maybe needed somebody with a bit of flair in midfield at the time. And we had a problem on the right side and we got the boy from Man United. Never worked out. But I think it's good. It shows that Giovanni sees where we need strengthening. Juicy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Oxygen. Not every position, not every signing that the club gets or always works out in the end. But at the very least, the management team want to be able to identify the positions, and that's a good start, isn't it? Because we as fans always think we know what needs to be filled. Sometimes, in fairness to us, it's quite obvious. But we know that there were a few positions in the forward line that needed to be looked at, and I feel that's been looked at now. Tillman can play as a number 10 as well. We've got to remember that Hadji could well be out still for most of this calendar year still until he's back up to full fitness. So we have to consider him, out of the picture. We've still got a few other players that have got some niggling injuries. We know that Roof's carrying a knock at the moment. Suter's carrying a knock at the moment. So these players that we brought in, hopefully they can stay fit and do a job from the very beginning, because we'll need them.
Yeah. I'm getting messages sent. Southside, you're the oracle, but we'll come back to you. Bridge, I did think it was pleasing that we tried to sign somebody with a bit of vision. Ramsey didn't work out. The young boy, it didn't work out near for us. He grew in it as the season went on, but in the league it didn't particularly work out. So I'm pleased with Giovanni that he sees where we need strengthened.
Yeah, the young boy, I'm disappointed that if we were hanging on to others or re-signing others, I don't know whether Rangers even went and spoke to them and to ask them back for another season on loan. Because I think it started to come on to a really good game, and you could see how good a player he was. Potentially, I thought he was a smashing wee player. But I thought that when I saw him the first time, and of course he was a bit scared and things like that, so he was a bit of a liability for the first 10 games. So, but I think he could have done a trick for us. However, the manager's already taken care of that through the number of signings he's got, plus the boy that started today or came on loan today. And that's tremendous, getting him on loan from Bayern Munich. Tremendous.
I'll read it out, Bridge. It's not just a loan. It's not just a loan, mate. Rangers are delighted to announce the signing of Malik Tillman on a season-long loan from Bayern Munich with an exclusive option to buy. Southside, do you think that's clever? You have a look at somebody for a year and then you decide. Then you could say it's a trial period, couldn't you?
We're taking on loan potential, aren't we? And try to develop it. And obviously he comes with a decent sort of pedigree at a point. He's a young boy. It's probably a good option to have a look at him and try and see if he's going to fit in at us, because it's like you say, it's a big club to come and play for.
Culture, everything else that goes with it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also the fact he's coming for Bayern Munich, albeit he played a good number of games in their B team. But it's positive for us, and obviously our league's a lesser standard. So you're hoping he'll come up here and start off well, and then obviously when we're in Europe, that's when we're hoping that these players start to shine for us, like they have done in the past, like Joe Aribo did last season, and Ryan Kentman have come up. I've always said on here, Ox, you get judged on what you do in Europe, when you're trying to move players on, but it's a positive move for us, and he sounds like an exciting player.
Mm-hmm. Does that mean that the transfer window's coming together for you, Juicy? Things are, the jigsaw pieces are getting slotted in. 10 days ago, we might have been critical that nothing was happening.
Yeah, 10 days ago, there was a lot of fans on a lot of forums that were freaking out. And you're thinking to yourself, well, there's so long to go in the transfer window. Don't panic yet. And, that being said, we're playing competitive matches long before the transfer window closes, and of course those Champions League qualifiers in mid-August. So yeah, you want to have players in and mingling with the team as soon as possible. And to be fair, we've moved fairly quickly. It takes a little bit of time to negotiate a deal. I think we've all got to appreciate that. There might still be more to come. When you actually look at the squad now, and I'm sure we'll break the squad down later on, Oxjer, but we've got quite a big squad now, and there's some players that you think of like maybe a Simpson or Helander, who's had a bad year in terms of injuries. But some of these guys, are we actually going to have games for them? The defence is looking pretty good. That's even without thinking about Helander or Simpson. So you could argue that in some areas we're a little bit bloated and could maybe lose a few players.
Enough about Southside. Carry on.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens on that one. But we've moved fairly quickly to get some guys in now, and I'm pleased they've taken a bit of time, because you don't want panic signings. You want them to think about who's available, do the negotiating, get them in for the right price as well, fair price. Something that's good for the club as well as the club that we're buying them from, and hopefully we've done that. Not everyone's always happy when a club says that it's an undisclosed fee, but that's the club's business.
I don't got
we've just got to have.
I don't get upset about that. You can work out the transfers, dealings, and deliver it up when you get the accounts, mate. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can have an estimated guess. What's your views quickly, Juicy, on the try before you buy, the year-long loan? Then Bridgman can ask the same question.
I think what's great about that, and I'd like to think we all would agree on this, is that we as a club don't really lose anything, do we? We've got the loan for the player. If he works out, great. We'll consider making an offer, and if it doesn't work out, then no one would be mad about it. So I think for us as a club, it's a win-win. And also, some guys on this radio station, in previous seasons, haven't always been too excited about getting loan players in. And that's a fair point, because, like Diallo, as Bridge was saying, if they're here for a bit and then they're gone. But if we've got that option to buy, there is actually something that can come from it as an end game, which is really good for us.
Same question to Bridge then, Albert.
I think that it's a tremendous opportunity for Rangers. As you have said, is well versed up to now. We're able to see how good the chap is, and so on. So, but one question I've got: these try with a contract or a deal to buy, if we fancy, is the price already arranged then?
That's what I imagine you would do with that, Bridge.
Yeah, I would think so too. Yeah. So if we said, well, it's worth $2.5 million, we'll take him on loan for a season, and we'll give you $2.5 million if we like him. Is that what you would think?
I think so. That I would imagine that how it works.
Because we don't want to be getting to the end of the season, the guy's an absolute storm for us, and they turn around and say, "No, we want $10 million after you." That kind of thing.
No, I think the deal will be signed. That's what it means. Exclusive option to buy. Whether the deal's signed or you get first refusal if the price goes up. I mean, that try before you buy, one season, Bridge, that meant you'd have played with 30 clubs. Carry on, Albert.
You're absolutely right.
Albert.
It makes sense. Of course it does. I like that option myself, try before you buy, because some players fit into clubs, other players don't fit into clubs. It doesn't make it a bad player. It just means it's maybe not a club for you. But and I think the price will be set, because you can put that in your accounts as future revenue. You know what I mean? So you know what you're doing with your own club. There's none of this sort of woolly numbers getting bandied about, or silly numbers getting bandied about, as we know what happens in Scottish football when they start their nonsense. But I like it. The transfer business we've done as well. You've got to remember, I mean, prior to this season, we're signing a lot of frees and getting loans, which don't seem to be that hard to tie up at times, especially the frees. But now we're actually starting to spend some money. That takes a wee bit more time to negotiate that and get that right. And if you look at the Aribo one, these sort of inclusions in the contract, that I've got a buyout thing, you've got to make sure that's right for the club as well, because I don't think the Aribo one was right for the club. It just happened to be in that contract.
I agree with you totally, but I think when you signed that contract 3 years ago, mate, we're in a different place as a club. Exactly.
But in my opinion, he's been undersold. But Bassey will talk about that later. But
we'll do that now. But since you've raised it, Albert, get it off your chest, mate, and then I'll go to Southside. Yeah.
I don't think it was Wilson that signed that contract, if I'm right. I think it was McFarlane that signed that contract. I might be wrong with that, but I think that was, because I'm not happy with the way that contract. You mean £10 million for him?
Aye. What I'm saying is, when he signed for us, when basically 3 years ago, 2019, I think we were in a slightly different place, mate. Yeah.
Of course, but it still doesn't make you stick a £10 million. Maybe he wanted that, and his agent wanted that, and we never in a position to say, well, no, because we wanted the player. But we need to learn from it, because he's went for at least £5, in my opinion, at least £5, probably £7 million too cheap.
Oh, Joe Reebell's not a £6-10 million player Southside, is he? Joe Reebell's worth more than that, but it's just the contract he signed 3 years ago, yeah?
The issue is, Albert, he's on the last year of his contract, and that's, I said on here a few weeks ago, if we could get the 10 million for him, because I think 10 million is a reasonable amount for Joe Reebell, especially if he's going down to England. And I were underselling him, but it's a contract that we've not got the extension on it. And probably put Alfie in that bracket as well, Albert, and probably Kent to a degree, minimum. I'm talking about, I think. But Joe Reebell, probably with the add-ons and whatever, Albert, probably comes to about the 10 million mark anyway. And then obviously we've got a future sell-on clause on him as well, should he go down there and tear it up. So we will end up accumulating more money in the long term. But ideally, we'd have liked to have said, we got 15 to 18 million or 20 for Joe Reebell, but it's a length of contract that doesn't give that level to get it. I know there was a buyout clause, and all, like you're saying, at 10 million. Probably, like we say, back then we weren't at the place where we are now, but 10 million for Joe Reebell at that time, even when we got him for about £250,000, to put that clause in at that point, it's a fair return.
Mm-hmm. It's the fact that we need to learn from it now. I know we're in a different position now, and everything's changed. As long as we learn from it, I know there's not much we can do about it, not much we could have done about it at the time, but we need to learn, and I think we will learn.
I know you like a bit of negotiations, Albert, but if you're saying that he should have had a 20 million buyout clause, if I was his agent, I would say, well, I want you to double his wages then.
Aye, that's fair enough, but I would put it a different way. I wouldn't put it that as blatantly as that. I'd be if you want appearance money, you get a £10 million buyout first year and a half, but after that it's in appearances, so it goes up by say £2 million for every 30 appearances you do for the club.
Clever. You're not just a hat rack, are you?
Oh no, I'm not here either.
Juicy.
Well, what do you guys think? Do you think it was a fair price?
I think it was a fair price for what he's got in his contract, and also when we signed him as a £250,000 player. In the English market, is Joe Reebell more valuable than £10 million? Without a doubt, he is.
Yeah, I think where Old Bear is coming from, I can completely understand, and it's the contract you put together for someone at the time where you're trying to think about what their potential is going to be, and of course, not every player that we sign on the youth development, for the cross-country border arrangement that there was in the UK, they're not all going to become top guys that are scoring in Europa League finals. But I guess it's having that confidence and how you do that deal and giving them a little bit more money from the beginning that could then increase that sell on later, maybe. But that doesn't mean that they're going to come to fruition. Then you might have ended up pumping more money in for nothing. So I totally appreciate it's a delicate balancing act. I don't really know the answer in terms of what is the solution. But yeah, Aribo's definitely gone for a few mil less than we would probably have liked him to. However, he could have gone in a year's time for nothing. So there is that concern that clubs can be held to ransom a little bit when players are in their last year. We've obviously still got the same conundrum with Kent and Morelos. And obviously there's a long time left in the window. So time will tell what happens with those guys. But if someone comes in for a 12 plus mil bid for Kent, the club will probably look at it very seriously.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't blame them, because you run that risk of him going for nothing and signing a pre-contract agreement with the club in January.
Yep. Southside, and then we'll get the phone lines opened if that's all right with you, Bridge.
I'm just going to ask a question on that.
Right.
I honestly think, and maybe somebody else might agree with me, I think we were robbed with Joe Aribo simply because of the contract. I think somebody wasn't doing their homework or made a miscalculation, because the boy turned out to be a super player for us. And I would have thought, much like Southside said, I would have thought 15 million at least for Joe Aribo. That's what I thought anyway.
But I think the point that Southside also meant was the length of his contract, and when the contract you gave him 3 years ago with a get out clause.
Yes.
If you signed somebody today for £250,000, you said in 3 years' time you're going to get 10 million Southside. Every day of the week you'd say that's good business, wouldn't you?
Aye, that's what I was saying. If we had managed probably to renegotiate a contract with him, we would obviously have put the release clause up without question. But
I think somewhere along the line we failed.
We took him, Bridges, like we've done with some of the other players. We took them as a prospect, and at the end of the day, he done 4 years, and he's roughly going to get is the best part of £10 million, and probably should he do well down there and get another move, we'll get a cut of that as well. So, in the 4 years we've had him, I'd say that it's a good return for what we paid out, and that's what we've got to accept.
So say that I think the amount of European games that boy's played with us, and particularly last season there, scoring in the final of the Europa League, that is an unbelievable thing to have on your CV. And we lost that by, through, what do you call it, maybe the wrong contract, the wrong conditions on the contract.
You've also got to remember, if he doesn't want to sign anything, and he says, I'll see you like Goldson done at the end of the contract. In modern football.
I understand that. Yeah, I'm meaning is I don't know what contract we're giving them. All we know is, and it's only in the last 3 months I think I've heard that there's a £10 million ceiling on a contract. I say, well, we've had it. So we need to do better with our contracts. I think that's all. Glad we got the money for him.
That's the point I was making, Bridge. It's done. The deal's done. I mean, you can't agree over spilt milk and all that nonsense, but we need to learn. And it's going to be worked through. It's a two-way street. I mean, it can't just be all for the club. It's going to be for the player as well. And I think we've done all right with Big Joe. Big Joe came to us, a raw big boy, and he ended up scoring in the UEFA Cup final. We turned him into a decent player, and he is a decent player. A lot of time for the big boy, you know what I mean? But he got as much as out it as we're getting, you know what I mean? So it's a two-way street. I just find the finer details. We need to learn the finer details and sharpen up on that, because there is other ways to construct these contracts, as I imagine. And if we can think of ways of doing it, I'm sure that the clever guys up there can do it as well. So we need to learn. That's all I'm saying. I know the deal's done, and I'm not greeting over it, but we need to get smart, because there's other players in there. There's Bassey, there's somebody Lowry, there's all these boys. These are all potentially multi-million-pound players.
Bassey,
so we need to get smart with them.
The big thing with Bassey, obviously we can come to that, but I'll get the phone lines open. He's got 2 years left in his contract Southside. You're in a different position, aren't you?
Aye, definitely. And that's the thing about it. The clamours in our, by the sounds of it, for Bassey could become a bidding war, but that's duties for him, and how he turned his career round at Rangers, and when he got his chance, and he showed up well at centre back and left back, and then obviously his performances in Europe. As I keep saying, that's what gets you your big moves. I think that's what lets players. You see, it's all right doing it in the Scottish League, but a lot of teams don't accept what you do in the Scottish League. So once you're on the European stage and you're producing like he did for us, that's when you're getting noticed, and that's why clubs in Europe are starting to look at him as well. But he's got a lot more potential and value because of the length of his contract, Albert, and at the same time, I think we picked him up for around about £300,000. So, it's potentially, if you look at the two deals that the club's done, we're saying it's no great, you might be saying in the value, but if Calvin Bassey goes, for talking sake, for the 20-odd million pound that you'd probably command for him, and the Joe Aribo money, for £500,000 outlay, you're pulling in nearly £30 million.
Right. Keep it brief. Just answer the question. How much is Calvin Bassey worth? Albert?
25 million.
Bridge?
I would agree with it. I think around about the 25 million.
Answer the question. How much is he worth?
25 million.
Okay. Juicy.
With a bidding war, 30 plus.
Answer the question. How much is he worth?
30 plus.
Southside.
25.
Oh, okay. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
All right, okay. All right. Answer it then. Albert, you're a Shrewdy. What's he worth this time next year if he doesn't sign a new contract?
25 million.
I don't see that. Southside.
The trouble, 25 million, and obviously somebody's going to, if he stays that year, somebody's going to try and get him for something around about the 12 to 15 million. That's a fact. That's a fact of life. This is the smart bit I'm talking about. Now's the time to strike. You sit and say, now don't get me wrong, I don't want to sell Calvin Bassey at all. In fact, I'll tell you how far I would go with Calvin Bassey. Calvin Bassey, I would make the highest paid player at the club, and I would say to him, stay, son. If you stay with Rangers and be a proper Rangers for your career, we'll build three teams around you. This one, the next one, and the one after it, and we'll make you the highest paid player at this club. That's how highly I rate that boy. That boy is a proper Rangers player, and he's of the highest calibre. Honestly, God, mate, I think if we let him go without putting something like that to him, we're doing Marcel a disservice.
Southside, how much was he worth at Christmas time?
I know. See, the thing is, when he's playing in the form of his life. He played in the form of his life. He's in a European team. He had the semi-final and final, and also the Europa League final games. I mean, we've seen these displays. They know the iron's hot, and if clubs are wanting to come in and get him, well, albeit as much as it pains me to say it, it's a business model. And if we're going to get that 20 to 25 million pound for Calvin Bassey, then I think we take that and I think we use it and we get to Gio to get a team that he wants, because that squad's still mostly his, and it's overloaded to the gunnels as it is with players. So as much as it pains me to say it, I think if the money comes in and Calvin Bassey's considering going, reports are that he seemingly spoke to Ajax, seemingly had chats. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But if the boy shows any indication of going or wants to go, then we let him go. Simple as that. And then we try and find another Calvin Bassey somewhere. You know, that's how it works. We've just got to rejig the team and keep it fresh.
But the problem I've got with that Southside is there's going to be continuity throughout the club and for the supporters. We can't. The model's fine. I've not got a problem with the model. I know what we do. That's fine. I don't bother with that at all. But we deserve as a support the chance to watch decent players. Now, these projects we keep getting are fine and dandy, but we still pay our money to watch a winning team. We still go up there week in, week out, pay for all these strips, pay for all these season tickets. We deserve something. And the calibre of Bassey is what I'm after. Now, the continuity, if you can get a player like that staying with you through his career, and then you keep building teams around him, you can carry on with your model. But it shows the club, shows us, look, we're prepared to give these people, these type of players, the money to stay, so you've got a decent team season in, season out. You can't keep rebuilding teams out fresh, a complete new team all the time. It doesn't work, mate. It doesn't work. It'll never work.
All right to answer, Ops.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
I can agree with what you're saying, Albert, right? But see, if our budget's 40 grand a week, for talking sake, just using that as a figure, then if you give him 40 grand a week, he's not going, any other contract you give him can't go more than 40 grand a week, because that's the wage structure. So, I mean, the reality is he'll no stay. He had a bombing season last year. I hope if he stays another season, but we need him to sign then another contract, and that's a dilemma. So the club will have to speak to him. He'll obviously assess his options, but if it's good for Glasgow Rangers, then obviously I think the boy will go if the money comes in and he shows an indication that he wants to go. We're not guaranteed he's going to go and be brilliant next season. He could go out there and bomb. We don't know that. We don't want him to bomb, but we want him to progress and play as well as he did last season, but you can't guarantee it. So if the money's on the table for a guy like him that we've just spent 300 grand on and developed, and it's 20 odd million plus, I think it's a no-brainer. And we'd love to see Calvin Bassey stay and play great, but I'll take the money, Albert, to be honest, and hope that we'll get a better player in than Calvin Bassey in time, you know.
Can I answer that, officer?
Carry on, mate. Carry on.
I was just the question that's buzzing in my head is that, as has been said, somewhere along the line, the rumour is that he's spoken to Ajax. If he's spoken to Ajax, then they must have the club's blessing to do that.
Permission.
Yeah? So if the club know, given the situation, the club know, he's got to sign a contract this season, or this window. He's got to sign a contract, either an extension to his existing contract, and the club should be pulling out all the stops to get that to happen, or he's going to go to Ajax. Just for you, he's going to Ajax. He's got to go one way or the other, because the club can't afford to lose him in that sense, you know. That's why I feel. They have to give him a new contract. They have to deal with the boy.
Well, the rumour is, Bridge, that Ajax have sold their defender for 46 or 47 million pound to Manchester United, and they're looking for Calvin Bassey to be the replacement. And that's the rumour that's going about. So why are they getting 46 million pound for a player that never played in the UEFA Cup final, but we have to get 20 million or 25 million? Well, we don't even know what they're offering. As far as I'm concerned, if they want him like that and you're going to sell him, okay, the 45 million, 46 million you go off of Man United, stick 2 million to that and give us that, and we'll give you Calvin Bassey. If you're going to go down the money route, let's go all the way down the money route.
I don't think you're going to get away with that. I don't think.
He's been hopeful. Aye. He's been hopeful. What he's saying is, you don't ask,
absolutely,
you don't get.
Yeah.
But I think
that's what it should be happening.
I don't think he believes that's happening. But what he's saying is, sometimes you've got to have a go. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, it'd be interesting to see how it pans out. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to lose Calvin Bassey football-wise. But Southside, I'll ask you the question again. You never answered it. How much was he worth at Christmas?
At Christmas, he wasn't worth. Well, on performances, he certainly wouldn't have been touted at the 20-odd million pound mark, that's for sure. Probably we had this discussion before. If somebody had come in and maybe offered us £5 million for him back then, when he was in and out the team, most people said they would probably have took it. And if a £5 million offer had come in and he hadn't been getting a run in the team and stuff, then he might have been punted to Ox. That's the way it is. It's a big offer at that point when you've just paid out 300,000 for a player. Obviously, he's went on and showed his potential and had a great second half to the season. But you're talking about you're going to sell Ox, that player at that price for a good 6 months' work, basically, you know.
Yeah. It's a reasonable business deal for the club. Is it good for the supporters, as Albert says, if you're losing money, your best players? No, it never is, Juicy, is it?
No, the fans want the best players to stay at a club. And there's two schools of thought, isn't there? The first school of thought is the business model, as some of you guys have said, which is, of course, very important, and that is what football is now. But from a fan's point of view, deep down, a fan just want their team to have the best players possible and keep those best players for as long as possible and to do well for their team, whichever club they support. It's the same for any team. It's no different with Rangers. And from a footballing standpoint, none of us want Bassey to go. But we all totally appreciate the circumstances of which he came in for a very nominal fee. And this is money that would really help this football club in terms of improving the infrastructure of other players within the club and anything else they decide to put that in. I mean, I just hope the majority of it does go back to Gio. But before Christmas, as you were just saying, Southside, he was in and out of the team. He'd been doing bits and pieces as a centre-back. he wasn't heading the ball very well, because I can remember us talking about that, saying he could do a lot of things, but his heading of the ball wasn't great. Look how all of that has improved. We have no fear about him going in at centre-back now. We know that he's probably better at left-back, but for me, he can do either just as well. And look at, in the last couple of months, Oxford, how he was just dominating the last dozen or so matches in the massive games, domestic cup games, Europa games. He was just a complete beast. And from that respect, I would be sad to see him go, but I totally understand the reasons why.
I don't, football-wise, I'd love him to stay. But I'm in Southside's camp. I don't mean Southside's camp, but you know what I mean. I'm in his side of the argument. If somebody wants to go and they say to the board or whoever, yeah, I'm happy, because it'll usually be the agent who'll say he'll take a move. Then it's time to move them on, because I'd rather have somebody moved on at any value and get the right money in and keep a bad apple, Southside.
I think it just comes down to Calvin Bassey first and foremost. I'd love him to stay and get another great season at him like he did last season and see him progress. But on that level, then we need to put a contract in front of him and ask him, is he prepared to extend his contract to safeguard us should a club come in next season if he's still in the same vein of form. Then obviously then we can look for the chunky money like we're talking about now. But with a year left in his contract, we'll not get anywhere near that amount of money for him. So it's a decision that's got to be had between the club and the player. We'd love to see him stay, but it's got to be for the benefit of the club as well, you know. And that's why we run the club now, Ox. That's the way they say the business model works. And they're probably looking through the squad at the moment. He's probably one of the biggest. He's the one that's commanding the most attention now, isn't he? So,
you wouldn't have seen that 8 months ago, would you? You wouldn't have said it, Calvin.
No, not at all. Because he's been in and out the team, mate. And like Juicy said, we'd all said, centre back, he's no great in the air. He still can get lost a wee bit, but he's put in some tremendous performances against some teams in Europe and in Scotland, and he's put himself right on the map. So, and he's played great, and he was hoping he's turned out to he's obviously turned out better than I expected. But we wanted him to get in the team and show us what he could do, and obviously he's done it, and that's why he's getting all the attention now.
If he signs another contract, what's his release clause then?
Oh, if you were negotiating that now, your starting price is around about the numbers that you said, or maybe plus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know what your asset is, but then he'll want the wages accordingly.
Oh,
you know?
I don't mind that.
How much would a £30 million player earn, Juicy? What do you reckon? It might not be a lot of money, all bet bridge, but it might be quite a few bob to me in Southside.
Well, the problem with that is, the problem with that is that it breaks potentially the wage structure of the club, doesn't it?
Yeah. But how much would a £30 million player earn? Say if he went anywhere, how much do you reckon they won?
Some of our top guys are on 35, aren't they? Plus at the moment.
But how much is a £30 million player earning? If somebody moves from Newcastle to Leeds United for $30 million, how much is he earning?
It's probably going to be
approximately, mate. I'll not hold you to the fiver.
Probably between 60 and 100 grand a week, I would say.
There you go. That's the issue. Southside.
You down there, they're going to get 80 to 100 grand, no problem. And that's exactly the issue, you know. We're going to have to up his wages, which he probably rightly deserves, but it's about the contract, and he's got to sign it, and then we'll up his wages and whatever it comes with it. And obviously then you put in your release clause. I think if Aribo had offered to sign a contract, I bet there'll be probably a release clause in Kamara's contract, but he signed a new deal. So his release clause, if he's got one, will be a lot higher than what it was on his last contract. And that's
his wages have risen accordingly as well.
Aye. And if Alfie or Kent will sign a contract, then there'll be a buyout clause for them probably at some point, or Rangers will have a figure where we'll be saying we will not be selling for any less than that. And that's just the way it is, isn't it?
Aye, okay. It'd be interesting to see how it pans out. And listen, I hope he stays football-wise, but I understand that money. In you come, Bridge?
I'm going to ask you the question. What do you think?
Hello.
Oh, we're joined by Tosh. Evening, Tosh.
Evening, lads. How you doing? Good to have you back.
Thank you.
How you doing, mate?
No bad. Looking forward to tomorrow. It's not every day you wake up and the famous is here. So it'll be a good day tomorrow. Can't wait.
You'll recognise Southside. He'll have the kiss me quick hat on Southside.
Aye, I'll be good down with the donkey. I'll be picking a white one, but no, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, mate. Taking a trip down myself.
Brilliant. Aye.
Good to see the famous Glasgow Rangers back in action tomorrow. You know, even though it's a wee friendly.
Oh, I know. Everybody last year when it got called off, we were gutted, really. So to get it back on, nice one, can't wait. Looking forward to seeing all that. Hopefully, Lawrence and me, that wee Robbie Matonda will be playing, hopefully.
Maybe they'll get an appearance. I think you'll see maybe 21 players perform tomorrow, Tosh.
Oh, aye. I'm looking. There's a few. I hope they get Alec Lee Lowry and Leon King. Hope they'll get a chance. Hopefully, won't they?
I think they'll play at some part tomorrow. Albert.
Aye, well, I hope so. Aye. Oh, I don't know how many subs is it? Can we change the whole team? Is it one team one half, one team next team, next half?
Aye.
So well, we should get a run out. They all should get a run out then, shouldn't they? I'm quite looking forward to seeing the Suter as well, because I've known he's played with Hearts. We've seen him against Rangers, but I'd like to see him, unless he's injured.
If we see him tomorrow, I think he might have a knock. That was last week. Yeah, him, Jack and Hollander.
Did I just say to Yorkshire?
Yes, mate.
Just what you were saying just back 5 minutes ago, I agree with you. If Ajax come in with a 25 million offer associated away, I'd like to see them stay for another season, get another good run in Europe, and then go for a good fee next year. That's what I'd have hoped. I'd have liked to have seen happen. But if they come in with 25 million, Rangers aren't a club that can afford to say no to that, is it? Are they?
I don't think anybody in the league we play in can that kind of dough and that kind of. What did we get him on a cross-border, Tosh? Next to nothing.
Oh, wow, I was just saying that to my boy there earlier on. What we got Joe Aribo for, and to get, if it does rise to 10 million, like you said, if he was a Premiership player, it would be a 25 million player. But such as he's up the road in Scotland, we can just take. A few years ago, we could only dream about these transfers happening again. So for 10 million for him, if it goes for 16 million for Patterson, we can't knock that back. If this is going to be our model now, and hopefully it continues. Keep finding gems and playing them on in a couple of years.
Here, mate. Hopefully bump into you tomorrow, Tosh.
Not a problem, mate. Right. Nice to speak to you. Can't wait till you're back to normal. These nights are no good without you. Thank God. You know what, mate? Honestly, walking about all summer, gutted. Right, lads, I'll let you go. Cheers.
Cheers, Tosh.
Right, lad, bye.
Cheers. That'll be interesting to see how it pans out with the Bassey one. Obviously, it's a big story and down the rounds, and I don't think any's want him to lose him in the football sense, Juicy, but I don't think. There's a lot of players like that who are very popular. Joe Aribo was the same, very popular with a lot of the support. But see, the strategy we've got, and I'll go to Juicy with this first, and then Bridge can chip in, the strategy we've got, could it be that it helps us to attract players who have got potential? I know we don't always want projects, but to get players in project-wise, sometimes guys to develop, to move on, if they know they get moved on and everything's done properly and they develop, you get that reputation. Could that be a positive thing for the club, Juicy?
It's a massive plus, Oxford, because it gives those young players a real potential outlet for big matches, big domestic matches where you have to win every single game. Otherwise, people can be very unhappy very quickly. Massive European matches, which you wouldn't necessarily get at what their parent club might be. So us having a model similar to, say, like Ajax have in the Netherlands is a really, really good idea, because the Netherlands league, the Eredivisie, isn't seen as the sexiest of leagues either, is it? But Ajax for decades now have had a model of developing players and selling them on. And I don't have a problem with us doing that. I mean, if you look at Aribo, we actually have had Aribo for several seasons. So it's not like he was there and then he was gone. I mean, with Bassey, it feels a little bit more like that, because it was only really last season that was his breakthrough. So, you feel like we've only seen half a season of the best of him. You feel like there's still so much more to come. But that kind of money, we can't say no to that. If we continue to get players on this cross-border deal, as long as that exists for, that's a model that's going to work for us, isn't it, guys? And even if the odd one doesn't work, we don't really lose too much, do we? Because if we're paying such a nominal fee, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah,
but when it pays off,
you're winning big time.
Yeah.
You're winning big time, man. Aye. Bridge?
Yeah, I think I agree with everything that was said there, to be honest. But I would like to take it that wee step forward and say that Rangers, if we get this money, however it is, we have to make sure that our club's looking good to help with the attraction to make sure people come in. So if we can get that type of money for Calvin Bassey, then we should be making sure we're debt-free as much as possible. And that gives the feeling that they're more than welcome. And as far as I'm concerned, bring the young lads in and go and hunt the market. You've got the guy in that's supposedly been quite good and done well for them across the city. So if you're going to use him, and use him wisely. I just want Rangers to get as much money as possible for this young lad. And I don't make any bones about it. I want them to get the debt cleared. That's what I want. Any debts that's there, clear them.
Well, we must be getting close to that, Bridge. We must be getting close to that.
We must be. You would think, wouldn't you? You would think.
We must be. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to the accounts coming out this year.
Well, at the moment, I mean, the transfers we've actually put out, we must be close to 30 odd million pounds, the new, without selling Bassey. We sell him, it's up to about 55 million we've drew in the last, within a year anyway.
6 months. Well, it's 7 months. Patterson, and Gerrard, and
and Bigger So you're looking at, if he goes, if the big man goes, you're looking at 55 million pounds you've brought in. So the model's working. You can't say it's not working. It's working. It's took a while to work, but it's definitely working now. But you look at the future and say, right, that's fine. That bit's all working. All our things are working as well. The investment coming in at the club's working as well. So we're scouting strategies working as well. So we're doing nicely now. You still go to have a team on the park. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm caring about. Like just you pointed out earlier on, that's all we really, really care about. I'm not taking my after ball and saying we want to get back to 2012 or anything like that nonsense. But at the end of the day, I want to see a winning Rangers team. And that's all I want to see. I want this Rangers team. It's pretty selfish, I know, but the time's right now because the board's done what they said they would do. They put these pillars in place and they're all starting to function now. So let's go now. Let's have a team and sustain a team a winning team on the park for a good number of years now. No, the odd cup here and there and a league here and there. I'm talking about sustained success now. That's what I'm looking for.
Aye. But the bottom line, Mulberry, is if some of your stars want to go, unfortunately, you've got to cash in at times,
Oh no, I'm realistic when it comes to that. I'm just saying that I'd like you got to keep in mind you've got some sort of loyalty to the fans as well.
Yeah.
Well, loyalty, and I agree. If they don't want to be there, they don't want to be there. I'm no one for keeping a player that doesn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. But Big Bassey never actually made any mention that he wanted to go anywhere. He was quite happy. It's been the transfer market itself actually unsettled the big man, and it was because Man U bought Ajax's defender, and so it's a domino effect, Ox. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's not just the player itself is not to blame for this. He's no said I'm no happy. I want to go.
The system, man, the system. Anyway, we've been joined by Bo Star. Evening, Bo Star. Welcome to a new season.
Evening, Ox. Evening, rest of the panel.
Welcome, Blue.
Ox, evening. Just what you are saying, Ox. Let's be honest. The last 6 months here, the big guy played brilliant, Bassey. But before that, as you said, the new there. Before that, would you obtain 5-6 million for him? Aye, you would have. So obviously, you're paying for the potential, and the big guy just kicked on because of the games he was getting played. But if you look at this so-called business model, obviously that's the way our club definitely want to go, because that's young boys we're bringing in. I mean, I'm even gobsmacked that they're willing to pay supposedly 3 million now for a year's contract for is it no Matondo, that latest guy for Bayern Munich. That's 3 million, but that's only for a year's loan. That's the kind of money you've got to pay. So if it's reported, and I believe it is, if it's 20 million plus for the likes of Bassey, well, you might as well say it's our period of 6 months, because that's what he's been in the team, and we all know the potential's there, and we know that he looks a right cracker. Yes, you would all want him to stay, but if our club's bringing in that kind of money for somebody that we paid, 300,000 or something for, there's no way in this earth they're knocking it back. It just isn't going to happen. So from that point of view, you've got to look at it and say, well, when you're bringing that amount of dough in, it's brilliant business. But like you said, Ox, I want to see these accounts. I want to make sure that all this money that we've made is clearing our debts, as Brad said there, because something doesn't add up. Something just isn't adding up right now. It just isn't, because our outlays on players has been virtually nil. Yes, I know we've got to pay wages, but actual cost, certainly we paid money for the wee right back, which brings me into the other point. We paid 3 million plus for him, Laskowski, but the likes of Bassey, the reason there has values so much, it's because he's left-sided, as we all know, because the left-sided players are the hardest ones to come by. There's plenty of right-sided players, as you see in England. It's the left-sided ones that are big bucks. So Rangers should push hard. If they can get 23, 25, whatever, push it as hard as they can. If these teams want our players, get as much money as we can, because between you and me, Ox, I'm being honest, there's no doubt about it. We could have gotten far more money for Aribo simply because we didn't, because it was that last year's contract, and we've got to tie these players down. We can't afford to let players like that go, i.e. even Varela.
If they don't sign, mate, there's nothing you can do.
Ken, that's what I'm saying, Ox, and that's the drawback. So it's an eexy-peexy. If somebody comes in to the likes of Bassey with that kind of dough, they have to let him go.
Why do you think the Sheffield United fans don't like John Lundstrom?
Exactly. You know, and that's the big conundrum.
I also can't believe you've come on to Rangers Radio and said we should sign left footers. I can't believe that, Olga.
No. You've been away for the Rangers too long. You got to be Ibrox and spend an hour or two just standing outside that ground.
We started getting roasted.
You know, so it's the evil conundrum, isn't it? You don't want to lose your best players, but when there's big bucks comes in, unfortunately, that's the name of the game then.
All right. I mentioned John Lundstrom there, and I accept a lot of what Boy Star said. I mentioned John Lundstrom. We've signed him on a free. Obviously, he's on decent wages because he's got the signing on fee, sort of transfer fee. His agent will done a deal. So what's he worth as you sit this now, and he's got 3 years left of his contract? What's he worth today for you?
Well, he's an older player, so we wouldn't be talking as much as some of those other guys we've mentioned. But what you have got is someone with the Premiership experience.
Yes.
And his last season with Sheffield United, I know they got relegated. But the season before that, he was in everyone's fantasy football team because the guy was picking up so many points. It was amazing. So the guy can play. And what we saw second half of last season was the John Lundstrom from that season when Sheffield United did so well in the Prem. I love the fact that he doesn't worry about shooting from range. He's taking chances. A lot of our midfielders haven't done that for a while. So in terms of his worth, difficult, but he's probably got to be 10 million plus.
Yep.
But he's an older guy, but that's not outrageous, is it?
No, but what's he worth in a year's time, Southside? That's the difficulty if you don't, yeah?
Aye. It's the old conundrum is what you've both talked about. We want them to stay longer and we want them to sign contracts, but that might not be what their end game was. And maybe they've said to the club, nah, I don't want to sign the now and I might do it later. And then, like we say, they're doing now the last year of their contracts. So, and we've won out it and we might lose out it. At the moment, I think the one that's went to now, Joe Aribo, is decent money for the £250,000 with a £10 million buyout clause. I mean, if you handed me £250,000 Ox and I gave you close to 10 million back 4 years later, you're going to be well chuffed, aren't you?
Aye, well, aye. I would be looking for a wee bit more if it was 4 years. I'd get the money for it, to be honest. But no.
35 years ago, Ox, I was in Tunisia, right? And one of the Arabs offered me 20 camel for my wife. Last week, a guy offered me a portable. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Was that
value all the time?
Aye.
Camels, mate. And I'm thinking to myself, how did I get 20 camels?
Did you say camel?
Aye, camel fags.
Oh, I hope she's not listening.
No, she'd know. Oh, hey, behave yourself. I'm not that damn.
Oh, is that him fell off his chair?
I were right hook. I'll tell you now, Bridge, there's only one winner in that competition.
Oh, I know. Hey, I'll get the same problem.
Okay, all right. So we brought in Tilleman tonight. Bowstar, I've not picked up any details of the deal. It depends how much his wages are picking up. It might be a £3 million deal. You're paying X amount of his wages, plus you have to pay a buying fee. I can't see he's giving him $3 million just to get him on loan, mate. But I might.
Oh no, it'll be his wages, Ox. Because if he's at Bayern Munich, even the lower ranked things will be on big hefty wages, you know.
So what do you think then? So the sort of players we brought in, obviously we brought in Suter. So we brought in Montondo, Lawrence, Tilleman, Kolak. We've not really seen them.
No.
Let's be honest, we don't know a lot about many of these guys. Maybe Lawrence is the guy we know most of the South Side, and then go to Blue Star after that. But what's the one that you think, right, okay, he could be the one that can help us a wee bit better?
I'm actually excited about the striker, mate. I think if we create enough chances, and I think if he's given a decent chance, I think he'll score for us most weeks. And I'm looking forward to hoping that he'll get a chance. So for me, him, obviously the wee boy in the wing looks like he's got a bit about him and he's got pace and he's contributed in goals last season. But I'm looking for the big striker, mate. I'm looking forward to seeing him playing, to be honest.
Okay. All right, we'll talk to the rest of you, get Blue Star on that, and they can give their opinion after the break. But if you don't mind, get yourself a mute, because we're going to have a tune.
Every Saturday we follow, we cheer the boys in blue, the most successful team in football. We're Scotland's gallant few, though at times they have been hard. We've followed near and far. You will always hear us roaring from the stands in Ibrox Park. Ooh. Successful team in football, we're Scotland's gallant few. cheer the boys in blue. The most successful team in football was Scotland's gallant few, who times they have been hard will follow near and far. You will always hear us roaring from the stands in Ibrox Park. Whoa.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Just Blue Star. The players who's exciting you so far. I mean, we've not seen enough of them to judge. Let's be honest, we've not seen them at all. And apart from 45 minutes, some of them. But the new signings, your initial thoughts before you see them.
Lawrence, I think Maesters has seen a decent wee bit of Lawrence Hawks. The thing I like about him is he's got pace, he can take a shot, and he's got a bit of needle about him. He's no fear for a tackle either for a forward. So quite glad to see him. And only my personal opinion, the big guy up front, Kolak, because in my opinion, Hawks, I'll say it again, we need an out-and-out hitman that scores his goals. I like wee Alfie. I still don't think we get the returning goals. I know he thinks the rest of our team. We all know that. But maybe that's just what Alfie needs, and all somebody that can push him. And I just hope that the big guy scores his goals, because much as we need goals for all our forward-thinking players, we all know that. But at the same time, you want your front man, your out-and-out centre forward to get you goals. So... Yeah. They're two major pluses, and as you say, we can't really comment on the other ones, because we've not seen them.
Mm-hmm. I think your fair comment about Alfie. I think Alfie's a fantastic number 9. Is he the best finisher in the world? I don't think he's a natural finisher, but he's a great leader of the line, if that makes sense. But what about yourself, Bridge? I know you're a fine studier of football worldwide. What's your think of these players?
Well, I haven't seen anything of the players other than three things that have been flashing up through the social media. But I'm looking forward to going to see them.
Mm-hmm. And make your mind up like that, Bridge.
Yeah? Make
your mind up as you see them.
Oh, yes. Obviously, we'll see them on the TV at the friendlies and so on and so forth. I'm assuming that they'll all get games and get a game time. And I don't want to make up my mind like that, but I'd like to see them, see what they're like, see what's happening. I'd also like to see Big Helander back. The boys that we've got, maybe carrying a couple of injuries. Let's get them out there and get 20-25 minutes on them. I'd like to see Helander back.
He's been sent to see a specialist, Bridge.
Oh, shit.
No.
Excuse the language.
Yeah.
I didn't know, and I think it's going to be tragic that the news is going to come from him. Here we are, we've got Hadji out for a long time. He's going to be out for probably a further long time. We've got Helander. Just never. These are the ones we're depending on. These people coming back.
Mm-hmm. Aye. I think every team has to deal with that all better. Injuries.
Aye, it feels like sometimes we get our unfair share of it. You know what I mean? Throughout the years, I'm talking about. But you're right. You just got to cope with it, and it's no good. It's no good. It's no good for us. It's no good for the player. You know what I mean? You can't imagine what the poor players going through. But the one I'm looking forward to is Lawrence. I want to see somebody with a bit of attitude in our team, because there's too many nice guys in our team. I want to see if it's going to rub on some people. Like the boy Wright. I mean, I think the boy Wright's got something, but he needs a bit of attitude about himself. You know what I mean? He proved in a Scottish Cup final that he can be a player and he can take a goal. But I'd just like to see that wee bit of nastiness to say he's not going to be messed about. And that Lawrence has definitely got that. He'll not be messed about. And he's game enough to take them on. You know what I mean? Anything at football, at fighting. And trouble is, up here, is it going to stay in the park? That's going to be an interesting one. I might turn into a Willie Johnson situation, you know what I mean?
Aye. Southside, have you heard from Big Stevie?
I have heard from him. I noticed he wasn't on the. I noticed he's not been on the list for the next few weeks. But I know. Do you know? Has he not told you? Has he not told you?
No, why is that? Is there anything I should know?
Well, he's into that Love Island. He's absolutely every single night. And they said they wouldn't be back on. It was finished. I thought he'd sort of tell you. I thought you actually knew.
Oh dear.
Living la vida loca.
The Love Island.
Big man.
All right. Is he got any favourites?
I think he said Davide. Quite likes him. I don't know. I don't watch it, man. But
Davide?
Aye.
I
don't know. Don't know. Don't know if it's a guy or a woman. I don't watch it there. So, but he's probably going into the telly then, really.
What am I?
Right. Oh, well, who am I to judge? All bear Rangers for everyone and anyone, eh?
That's it, mate. Everyone and anyone, including Big Steve.
Yes, mate.
Seeing the players you're talking about, can I just say this? I'm glad Big Katic is back, and I'm being truthful there. Do you know, I know he made a couple of mistakes. I still maintain the games that he got before he picked up those injury oaks, I swear that I think he was the best header of the ball that were club, without a shadow of a doubt. And he scored 5 or 6 goals at that period of time before he got on slip-ups. I'm glad the big guy's back because I genuinely think there's a player in him. I really do. I think he'll be another good acquisition a day.
He's an aggressive, good in the air. I think he's maybe our best in both boxes. Even though he fell on Saturday night, he tripped up one of the corners.
I know. I know. We can blame that in the lights.
But what I will say is, the way we play, if he gets the ball, he's not the most comfortable ball at the feet. But like Hollander, he's a defender. There's no doubt in that. He's a defender. But I still think he's a bit unlucky because he plays in the left. Anyway, we've been joined by AK. Evening, AK.
Good evening, boys. And hello, Bridgeman. I'm fine. Everybody good? Had a good summer break so far?
Aye, mate. Aye. Just anxious to get back into the football, aren't we?
Exactly. It's good
to be playing Monday or Tuesday night and all, but that's
no. Well, funny enough, that was actually something to do with my point. You guys were in Seville there. Obviously, the extreme temperatures that we suffered out there. Those that were at the game in particular have heard some horror stories. You could verify that. Liverpool took UEFA to court over the kind of scenes at the Champions League and stuff, and I think they won their case, whatever it was. UEFA admitted culpables in the French authorities. Why is your club not doing nothing about what you guys went through in Seville? Because their Guinness are red. Upgrading it on Tuesday to a red warning, which is approaching 40 degrees. I believe you suffered more than that, and nothing has been done or said on the club about that. Why not?
I think there was a lot said at the time. It's a lot of statements, I think. But I think the Liverpool case was completely different, mate. I think they were slandered, weren't they? They said things about their support, but maybe not true. But you're right. Whoever who decided to have that game, the guy who called for that game to be played there with the temperatures possible in an open stadium.
No, just to carry on for the stories that I've heard and the videos and that I've seen. But why was there limited kiosks open? Why was there barely any water available? Why did they turn off the taps? That's inhumane conditions that our supporters, both sets of supporters, were subjected to. It was potentially life-threatening. Why is Rangers not taking UEFA to task over this on behalf of your support?
I think there was at the time, mate, but I don't know what's been said since. Southside, didn't you come, mate?
Alex, I know there was a focus, sort of a group type thing where you could send in stuff and let Rangers know what the conditions were like in the stadium. I think Liverpool thing's probably different because of the nature of the gates and the try to get in and that and the crushing. I think Rangers probably will put in a complaint, but whether we go to take the effort to task or no, Alex, I don't know. But I mean, it was horrendous. Don't get me wrong. But it was some heat to. I mean, we were standing around the terrace, and then I heard people on before saying you couldn't hear the Rangers support nor that singing. But believe me, we were absolutely dehydrated in that stadium, absolutely exhausted. Probably in the heat beating down in tap here, and we were singing, believe it or not. Although sometimes we probably weren't heard. But Alex, I said at the time the stadium was an absolute dump. Even to walk along to try and get to your bucket seat, walking along that concrete that was uneven, a couple of people had fell. There was no way to stop yourself. It was like a domino effect right down the terrace, and it was obviously Seville. They play their home games in it, but I tell you what, I wouldn't like to be going there every single week to watch Rangers if that was the state of my stadium, to be honest, mate.
No, I understand that.
The Oldham Stadium, the Oldham Stadium is in that heat, mate. Just I couldn't understand the logic behind it, mate. When potential for that, you know.
It's just for me the heat and the conditions that the Rangers and Frankfurt supporters were subjected to was far worse conditions what the Liverpool supporters were subjected to, even though it was contentious because of the French authorities. But the fact that they're giving the UK a red warning, and it's basically life-threatening, that's why they're bringing it up to red. It was life-threatening in Seville for use with the conditions and the lack of water and everything, and getting the phones took off you and everything, the chargers before you went in. Guys missed their buses, guys slept in streets, horror story after horror story, and our club's basically done nothing about it as far as I can see. They even accepted that, Leipzig, Flair's going to have another paltry fine that we have to pay, but we are accepting all the conditions that we had to go through for that. I think that's very poor for the club, no backing up the supporters for me.
All right, okay. Well, I'm not going to talk about Seville again, Alec, because it's gone in my memory, because I can't get the penalty kicks through my head. But the club's moved on with signing new players. What's your thoughts on that?
I will, like everybody else, you get a wee bit kind of itchy feet why we're not doing any business, but it's clear now that I think we had to move players on before we actually got players in, as Southside intimated earlier. It's like a domino effect. Once one player goes for a certain club, that's got to get replaced, and then that causes all sorts of movements across Europe. I'll reserve judgment, shall I say. I'm not too enamoured with Ross Wilson's buy so far. Everybody,
you've been obviously a season ticket holder, my Jers guy, putting your money at the club, yeah. Who would you have signed?
Well, there's players out there, of course there is, but you've got to be astute in the market. I just thought we would have got more out of the Dutch. You've got 3 Dutch guys there. Why we not getting into that market? Surely knows that market better than anybody. But no, of course. Listen, you've got to put the trust in Ross Wilson and the people who are viewing these guys. But after bringing in Diallo and Ramsey and Zakowski and Sands, I'm not too enamoured with them. So we'll just need to see how they hit the ground running. But certainly Kovac was brilliant against us in the Champions League. The other ones coming in have definitely got potential to go far. Unfortunately, we're losing big players now because of that. But that's the kind of beast. We've got to take the gambles to try and improve the team and bring fresh faces in. So I'm pleased with that factor.
All right, we've been joined by Gary B. How are we doing, Gary?
I'm good, lads. How are we doing?
You're very quiet, Gary.
Right, 2 seconds.
Which is not a bad thing, but carry on.
I'm good. How are you? Is that better?
That's a bit better. Carry on, mate. What's your point?
I just heard you talking about the Bassey situation and the transfer window and the new players we've brought in. So yeah, I just thought I'd call up and say my wee piece.
On you go, mate. The floor's yours.
Aye, I think Bassey will go. I think that's it's just about timing now and the club holding it to get the best deal, which is obviously stating the obvious. But I think some Rangers fans, and it's not a derogatory aimed at anybody in particular or putting anybody down, but we in our heats as fans, Rangers fans, we traditionally are not a selling club. We haven't been ever really. Near the end of Walter Smith's time, his second time in charge, we were selling players on like Hutton and who was the other? Jelavic, players like that, sold on for decent money. But apart from that period there, Rangers have never really been a selling club, so it's hard for fans to turn that switch in their head and come to terms with the fact that we are a selling club now. We have to be. I think the big reset button, if you like, getting hit in 2012 and us being at the picture for nearly 10 years in terms of the club, the journey back. Football changed a lot in that 10 years. A lot of money came into the game. Money's always been in football, but now the money's just astronomical. But the money that some players are on at the very, very top. And Rangers now financially are in a different dimension, man, when it comes to having to compete. And as a club, we have to cut our cloth accordingly. And it's a very, very, very fragile game you play when you start messing about with wages in a dressing room, because players talk to each other, and if one guy's on even a couple of grand there, it can cause problems and friction. So and it's non-stop all the time. That's probably the majority. If you speak to gaffers up and down all over the country, and I'm not just talking about the top leagues, that'll be the majority of what they spend their time on, is speaking and having to deal with the board, and the board having to speak to agents and having to put agents and talk to players and get them in. It's all to do with money. It's a horrible part of the game, but that's the way the game is now. And as a club, even players like the young boy Bakuna, I'm sure we got at 1.2, 1.4 million or something for him. It's small money, but we brought him in for nothing. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Look at the boy Simpson. Brought him in for nothing. He's not kicked the ball. We don't get any money for him, but that's what happens. You bring players in, you see if it works out. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't cost you anything. You've had to pay their wages, but they're backup players, and that's the way they do it. And other clubs like Ajax and even Dortmund, to an extent, yeah, they have the same model, but on a different scale. They're able to spend 20, 30, 40 million pound on a prospect like young Jude Bellingham. They're bringing players in for 20.
I'm going to Real Madrid now, aren't they? I've seen that in the
press. Exactly. It's exactly the same model, just with more money to spend.
Okay, mate. Thanks for that. Juicy, in you come, and then Alberg can get his toppings worth in.
Yes, you're totally right. The model is exactly what you just said, in that we've now got to look for those younger players, look at how some of those other clubs from those other smaller leagues handle their business and cultivate, whether that's from our youth ranks or, as I said earlier, the cross-border deals with England that have proved successful for us. And as I also said earlier, you don't lose too much if those ones don't work out, because you paid a very nominal fee. We don't get what the big five leagues get in terms of TV revenue, and that's really what kills it for us, isn't it? What is the SPFL worth? The winners get about 2 mil. We've seen and we've joked about the prize money for the domestic cups, and the fact that Neil Doncaster had the audacity to suggest that the Betfred League Cup prize money was decent is actually laughable. So we have to think about how we can do business via our own means. And football is a business, and we've got to continue to try and perform in that mindset of operating as such, operating on a profit and flipping players for good money. And of course, that will be supplemented by how well we do in Europe. And last season was an absolutely fantastic season. If we can do that again, hopefully by getting into the Champions League, we know we're getting that extra revenue as well, because that's where we're going to get our TV revenue from, not, unfortunately, from our domestic setup, which is what England and Germany and even France and Italy have got over us.
All right, Albert?
Aye, what you're describing, Gary, is absolutely true. I mean, there's no argument against what you just said there. That is the fact. That's the reality of life. That's what we're sitting with. That's the way it works. But it doesn't mean we have to like it. And I'm not suggesting for a minute you're saying we should sit back and like it. The rest of these models, and most teams have got the same model now, is all dictated by the rich clubs and the rich leagues. Let's not kid ourselves. And they're driving it all. They've got control of it all. We don't own football. They own football. We're just sitting back here picking up crumbs and trying to go to a game and watch a game of football and a decent team, a decent standard of football. That's what we want. That's what we're trying to do. But we're not allowed to do that because the rich teams, the rich leagues like the Premiership, are dictating these stupid prices. This ridiculous amount of money the football players are getting paid at the moment. That's a fact of life too. I'm not happy with it. I never will be happy. I'm not happy with the Premiership. Don't like the Premiership, never will like the Premiership, don't like the model, don't like the greed, don't like the Champions League for the same reasons. But it's time the rest of the clubs throughout the world, of lesser clubs I should say, like ourselves and other clubs, get together and start saying we're not playing ball with this anymore because they need us to play to make the leagues up and make these Champions Leagues and all that. It's time we all started fighting back. And by the way, the supporters of these clubs are paying, we're paying the exact same money as they're paying for Scottish football. I mean, we're paying for season ticket money. There's no many clubs paying more money than us for season tickets. We're uncomparable with most of them. Or you might have one or two pay more. So my pound's as good as anybody else's pound. So why am I sitting with a player of, I can't afford a player at £40 million because they tell me I can't afford them? It's not right, by the way. It shouldn't be like this, but we're allowing it to be like this. And it's time we stopped it. It's time we all started going. It's time we all started getting together and saying, no, we're fighting this. And if it takes us to scrap UEFA and FIFA, well, let's do that. Let's scrap them. Let's get people in charge of the game that looks out for the supporters. We want value for money, and we're not getting it. All we talk about is millions of pounds and billions of pounds. Most of them have got a tenner in their pocket and sitting talking, we only cost us £1.5 million for him or £2 million for him. It's nonsense. They've got us all talking garbage now. So, as far as I'm concerned, what you said is absolutely right, mate. It's true. That is reality, what you've just described there. But I don't like it. And I don't think we have to sit back and take it for much longer.
Well, God, that's a whole show on its own, Albert. What you've just said there, a whole
I know, it is, mate, but it builds up. It's been building up with me for long enough now. And I'm sick of the way the football's run at the moment. It's really bad. It really is bad. Alec Kelly brought the thing out about Seville. The reason that we didn't do it and nothing's going to get done about Rangers is because it's Scottish. It's Liverpool. Liverpool get a high profile. That's why they get taken care of more and get listened to the noise. We're nothing.
Other league as well.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. They carry on the way. We carry 9.
Ox.
Yes, mate.
Can I just say, cast your mind back to Jean-Marc Bosman. When was that? The middle 90s, the early 90s. See for his court case. That's where everything changed in football. The power became the players and no the clubs. It's all about the name on the back of the shirt rather than the badge on the front of the shirt. And that's wrong. I totally agree with you, Albert.
Aye.
You want a fair crack of the whip. That's all we're asking. But all I want to go up and Juicy said it before, all I want to do is watch a successful team or a team trying to be successful and concentrate in the competition you're trying to win, rather than worrying about business models and sell-on values. And why are we all worrying about this? But it's the nonsense. There's enough money in football to go in for everybody if it's shared out properly. It's not getting shared out.
Lads, the thing, sorry, Ox, see that I personally think, right, I don't know how long it'll take, but I think eventually the house of cards will come down. Because if you look at the structures at some clubs, look at Barcelona. They had the greatest cash cow in world football history for close on 10 to 15 years, right? And they still ended up €1 billion in debt. How is that even quantifiable, right? And they're too big. They're too big to go under. When you owe money to somebody, right, there's a certain tipping point where you owe too much money for you to go bust. because it's no longer your problem. It's the bank's problem. It's the people you owe money to problem. So the problem is, though, that will happen eventually. One of the big hitters will go pop, and the whole house will come down. Now,
it was
the
close.
actual game
A few months ago, with Chelsea, wasn't it?
the actual game itself won't change. People will play it because it's a game and it's fun. Mm-hmm. People will want to play it, and the good ones will go to the top. It will just be the money that changes. And I personally think that'll happen eventually. Will it be in 10-year time, 20-year time? I don't know. But it will happen because this is a race to the bottom. And it's countries involved now. Countries owning football clubs and this financial fair game and all that, fair play. It's mental. You look at PSG. I reckon Ronaldo will end up in PSG. That's my bet.
Race to the bottom. All bear wanting socialism and football. The world's changing, Southside, isn't it?
It certainly hasn't have.
Get the bottle of vodka.
It's a more, Alex. The thing about it is, like you're saying, like when we're saying we had a business model, when soon as came in and that we were buying players, selling players, right? But we bought players that would go into our first team, and if it didn't work out like a Mel Sterling, they get punted and we got money for them or more money. And that's what we've done as a club. And Walter got players in when we had the Ali McCoys and the Richard Goffs and the John Brown, Stuart McCalls. But they all came into our team and we were buying the players. Had Ian Durant coming through, Davy Cooper there for a while and all that. It was seasoned players. We weren't buying a Joe Aribo and trying to nurture them and all that. Probably a project player, you could probably say at the academy would have been Barry Ferguson, when we brought him through, and then he just went on and became a far better player. But we bought seasoned pros. We didn't go for a project player. And then now, the way the world is and how you've got to generate money with your club, because let's face it, season ticket money can't run our football club. We need European football. And now we're back on the map with what we done last season. But like I keep saying, if we've got a gem and he's playing well in Scotland but produces on the European stage, then we can sell them for decent money. Now, ideally, if we were in an English league and all that, in the Premiership, our players would be going for big money, but they don't. And the value in Scotland's probably tapped. We've seen it's probably close to the 30 mil. We've seen somebody go for 25. So realistically, if they're playing well for us and at the top of the peak of their game and they're getting picked in a European Team of the Year and producing it against the top European sides, then we rightly should be asking for 20 to 25 million for Calvin Bassey, for instance. But it's a 6 good months he's had, and that's what we've got to realise. And if that carrot gets dangled at 20 million, then Gio should be gave that money to go and reinvest in the club and get his type of players in that he's looking for, because he started to try and do it. I think we've been prudent. We've not spent a lot of money, but it looks like we're looking to there's players in positions that we needed. And that's the way we've got to go forward. We'll just have to realise that we don't have players that are going to stay maybe 7 and 8 years. All right, Tav has, and Ryan Jack's 5 years, Alfie's 5-6 years. So if Alfie re-signs, he'll be close to that. So, but football's changed. You can only expect a player to stay probably 2 to 3 seasons. And if he's good in that time, then he moves on.
Isn't that what happened to Alfie? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I'm you, Bridge.
I was just going to say, I think that's what happened to Alfie. Nobody came in at the 20 million, let's put it that way. And that's what the club were holding out for. They were holding out for this mega sum, which is probably the 20 million, which is probably valued at. But nobody wanted him. And I think it was nonsense afoot about the guy. There was some stuff getting spread around the sort of social media sites.
Leo bid, Bridgeman. Leo bid 16.5 million for Alfie 2 seasons ago, and they got knocked back. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying that because the club were looking for the 20.
Did they?
I think so. I think they were looking for the 20.
The Leo chairman came on Talk Sport and said that.
How did they want to pay it?
I don't know. Probably instalments for it. The deal wasn't acceptable anyway.
Aye, the devil's in the detail, mate. Yeah. Right.
So that time it was worth that money, but it was a different type of payment method. But the truth of the matter is, nobody actually came in for him. And I think the whole footballing world, particularly in Scotland, we're surprised at that. The decent ones, let's put it that way. I think I'm still quite shocked that nobody's come in and with decent money to buy our player.
Sure.
Alex,
You're an hour and a half into the show tonight, and you've no told our Bridgeman for his pinging. I can't believe it.
I couldn't tell Bridgeman off for pinging because it was mine.
Bridgeman, tell him.
But the difference is, I admit when it was mine.
Hey, Kev, that's shocking doing that, by the way. That's shocking.
Oh, brilliant.
He's been funny. I'll be his Love Island.
No,
week or something, innit?
I'm still in shock. I've had a text. I'm still in shock about Stevie watches Love Island. I'm sitting here shaking my head. I'm stunned. Listen, interesting times. You might not think the guys are good enough for brought in, but some people never thought a guy we brought in for nothing for Sheffield Wednesday United was good enough. Andy Felix didn't like him, and then all of a sudden he takes off and becomes a right good signing. Every signing's a gamble. Blue Star, every signing's a gamble, eh?
Absolutely, every signing's a gamble, no matter how many times you watch a guy. The only problem I've got is certain players we've brought in, i.e. the ones in January, quite frankly, were a total nonsense. Who actually looked at these guys? Was it Gio? I don't believe for a minute it was Gio that watched these guys. I believe it was Ross Wilson. Ross Wilson might be that kind of guy where he's out to bring in youth and sell them on. I get that. For me, you need a football brain, a guy that knows about football properly, that spots a player. I'd love to know exactly what the trading model is, who exactly is pinpointing the players. Is it Gio? Is it Ross Wilson, or is it somebody else? The very fact they brought in John Park stands to reason they need somebody else in that academy bit to look at players. So it's all about, it's an absolute gamble right across the board. Look, what you are talking about there, guys, look at the golf. That RNA that run golf in the European sense for our majors, see if one of the Live guys wins that tournament, well, you wait to hear the uproar there. You've got guys worth 400 million and they're not even prepared to play for the major championships now. They want to go because somebody's signing them a cheque for 500 million. In the long run, can you blame them? No, probably no, but you've got to look at it and say, but if they're worth that amount of money in the first place, why did they need to go? So it's the same with a footballer. A footballer's going to go where he's going to get paid the biggest wages. Oh, you said earlier on there, what does a Joe Aribo do if he signs another 3 years with us and he's maybe on, I don't know what the guy was on, say he was on 20 grand even a week, and somebody down there, even in the championships, is going to pay him 40 and 50 grand. What do you do? He's already won the Premier League up here. He gets a run to the UEFA final. Be realistic. Can that guy do much more in Scottish football? No, he can't. So they won a championship and he gets to a European final. He came in for nothing and Rangers get up to 10 million quid. The same goes for Bassey. He plays for us for 6 months, and if we're going to get 20 million plus, goodness me, that's no business. That's astronomical for Scotland. We all know if he was doing in England, he could be worth maybe double that, maybe even 50 million. But he's playing up here and he's playing against your Ross Counties, etc. He gets his eyes opened, and so do the other managers, simply because he gets a run in Europe, and that's the trading model, and that's what we've got to keep doing now.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how you keep getting it right. It's difficult, and Alex, I think the guy Parks we brought in and Ross Wilson, they're two totally different roles, mate. Totally different roles.
Can I say something? So, I was going to say that Aribo, right? We're talking about Aribo. Let's use Aribo. You look at when the offer comes in. Would he, as with football, be happy staying at Rangers? I think he was happy, and I think he would have been happy. But when a club in the English Premier League comes in for you, it's life-changing money. The money they own's good, right? But they live fast as well, so they're spending a lot of money. But look, for instance, with Joe Aribo, see as soon as he penned that 4-year contract with Southampton, that's changes his life and his kids' lives and his family's lives, and And the thing is, like, people are saying, oh, Bassey could stay another year, and boy could get injured next season and be out the game. That's it. Season, that's his career done. So when they get the chance to move, right, they have to seriously weigh it up, because they've got to look at it and go, right, last year, missed out in the league, got a European final, won a cup. What's left to achieve in Scottish football? Now, for us as fans, we've got everything to achieve, because they're no Rangers fans. They start to love the club and having a real affection for the club. I don't deny that. But they haven't got it in their heart. So when a club comes in and goes, look, we're going to pay you minus tax or over 4 years, £10 million, and then the chance to go and better yourself like Van Dijk done and go to Liverpool and win everything. I don't think us as non-football and as a non-professional football and just fans that have never really been in the inner workings of the game, I don't think we can contemplate what it must be like to weigh that up.
You can contemplate and turn that around to life in general, mate. If you're a joiner and you're working in a band building site and the guy comes along and offers you triple the wages down the road, you're seriously going to consider it, aren't you?
Even if it's your best mates you're working with, and your best mates would say, you've got to go. Do you know what I mean?
So let's be honest, mate. As much as we get caught,
I wouldn't go.
Yes, mate.
I wouldn't go.
I've seen your son, but
no, I'm a plumber. I wouldn't go. I'm a plumber.
I've seen your son. Right. Southside, you've got some concerns with some of the injuries we've got already, haven't you?
I do. I think going forward, we were looking at it now. Obviously, I don't see Suter completing that season, to be honest. No of the numbers that I'd like to hope to could have achieved. Ryan Jack, for me, is another one. As much as I love him, and you can see the difference that he makes to the team, if he's not going to be fit and he's going to be in and out, it's not good for us. We'll need to have a settled team, I think, and I think we'll need to be looking for somebody else to come in there. Hollander and all, I wait to see a specialist. So, and I was actually thinking about it, if Katic hangs about long enough, he'll probably get plenty of game time, because if Hollander goes out and Suter's no fit, we're starting to come down. And if Bassey gets sold, if he gets sold, then obviously you'd think he'd be able to go into the market and buy another centre-back, but Katic might get used if he's still going to be about, depending on what Gio thinks. And also Roof. I don't see Roof really getting a game in our strike force. I think when you bring in a striker, and you might have Alfie fit if he signs or goes, but Roof for me only plays number 9. Gio plays wingers. He doesn't want to play a false 9 in my opinion. He wants a winger out in the wing. So Scott Wright or Matondo will probably be there. Sakala, Ken if he's still there. And you've also got Lawrence if he doesn't play in the number 10 position. I headed that boy Tillman. So for me, I think we've got to worry with A4 going forward. And I think it's something that the manager will need to make a decision on them sooner than later, whether we're going to start to get a tune at them with a consistent amount of games, or whether we're going to have to leave them on the sidelines to make sure they're 100% fit.
I've no checked this out. Hollander and Jack in the last year of contracts. Hollander get 2 years.
I think they've both got 2 years.
Well, okay.
And I think Roof's the same and all.
I thought Ryan Jack. I thought his was up definitely next summer, but I might be wrong. So I wouldn't have no checked it.
Roof's a hard one to try and punt, because anybody looking at him's got to look at him to come in and play in their team as a centre forward, and you've got to look how many games consecutively you're going to get off Roof. I just don't see him starting at all for us much next season if we've got fit strikers.
I know I'm not the greatest fan of international football, but I wouldn't stop somebody playing for their country or playing if they wanted to. I get it, I understand it for the individual, but Roof was somebody who should never have played extra games.
Aye, probably, mate. Aye, but they all want to have an international career. But the state that he's in, and he's another year older, I just don't see him. If you play Roof for me, he's a number 9. And how do you put him in front of Alfredo or Antonio Cholak for me? And he needs to be playing a regular amount of games. So I just don't see Roof featuring for us in a Giovanni Van Bronckhorst team. But how you move him on and the wages he's on and that, and the length of contract that's left, it's a gamble that a club would need to come in and take him, but you might be talking 25 games a season you're talking about he'll play. He did contribute definitely in the league winning team and all that. Don't get me wrong, he has contributed, but going forward...
It started, it's Tillman, not Tillyman. Yeah,
sorry, right, okay.
Tillyman.
Yeah, so get it.
Tillyman.
Yes.
By the way, Jack's contract's to 2023.
What's that, Bridge?
Ryan Jack's contract is till 2023, next year.
Big year for Ryan Jack. Big year for Ryan Jack. Yeah. Bridge, you're a big fan of Hollander.
Hollander, I am, yeah.
What is that, 3 seasons he's been in? We'll get 60 games out of him.
Yeah.
Big goals. He does better than 3-1,
games
doesn't
a
he?
season, but that's the way it's turning out. You're lucky if you get 20 games a season out of him. But I still think he's a good player. I don't know how come he's getting injured so much. I really don't know. Or maybe it's just the position he's playing in Scottish football. And whether he'll be able to continue that, I don't know. He's a smashing player for me. Smashing player. But you're right, you put it down to the bottom line. You know, how many games do you play for us? And how much are we paying you? I think the club can't keep on doing it. You just can't.
Oh, you eventually shake hands when somebody's contract up.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we sit today, and I'll take this to Alex Kelly, as much as I like Big Hollander, and I think he's a natural defender, you couldn't give him an extension of his contract. To be crazy, wouldn't it?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And by the way, I think it was at Bologna we got him for in Italy. I think he had 22 games and 23 games there, so he's running about that 20 games a season anyway. That's not good enough for our club. I think we should be looking to offload him. And I've got concerns about the injury situation, just the same as Southside.
Who's going to sign him, mate?
Oh, I know. But that's the market that unfortunately we delved into. We've looked for kind of injury-prone players, but hoping to get a year or a good 9 months out of these players. Now we're kind of stepping up a wee bit the levels, but the gambles is always still there, and unfortunately that's the kind of market that we're dealing in.
Aye. Well, everybody remembers Kuznetsov and Rodan. Never kicked up off for us, So
Sebastian Rosenthal and all.
Aye.
Mind him. Rosenthal with a bad knee injury, yeah.
A damn trick.
Aye. There's loads of them. You could name them, couldn't you? You could get a whole team out of them. A whole team of them. But listen, I like Big Hollander, and he's gave us some tremendous memories. Juicy, but you've got to be playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, with Hollander, when it's, he had a couple of injuries last season, and, the last one with his foot is what's still rolling him out now. The only thing I can say is that we've got other options in defence now, but with Suter being injured as well, that makes me a little bit concerned when you think that we've lost Balogun. But we've got people to come in. We've got Katic. As it stands, we've still got Bassey, who can still play centre-back. But I think the big one is young Leon King. I really want him to get some game time, because he looked so composed for the few matches we saw him at the end of last season. I think him and Big Goldson together could be a really good pairing, and that will certainly help my mind rest a little bit easier, knowing that other guys are out injured. But you've got to be careful, because it only takes a knock to one of those guys and suddenly you're in playing Jack Simpson territory. So we just got to be careful. I am concerned about signing a player like Suter, who only played 20-odd games for Hearts last season. He's the second best ball carrier out of defence statistically in the league after Goldson. So we've got a guy there that can play for sure. There's just some question marks over his fitness. Time will tell, guys, but I like him. Okay,
we've got a few on the callers and obviously the panel. Just briefly, I know some of these might struggle with that. Right, but hopes and aspirations for the season. I'll go for the oldest down. I'll leave you at the end because you're the best, Bridge, but we'll start with the oldest, Alex Kelly.
He's a banger, isn't he? A treble, a domestic treble. We always aim for a treble.
Are you really worried about that 350,000 cup, are you?
Nah, my stuff.
No. I get you. I get your point. I understand. Southside?
League Championship, and certainly want to make the Champions League group stages. Obviously like to pick up the Scottish Cup and be good to retain it. And I would like them to start off, if we would, in the League Cup. I'd like to play fringe players and some of the young boys and just make a second team, give McGregor and McCrory a game if he's there, and Davis and Weston maybe, I don't know, he's away. But mix the team up, give Sands a game and the young boy at the back, King and that, and see how we go with that. Zakowski right back, never go at it for a few rounds, see how it goes.
Okay. We'll start then, Albert.
Champions League and League Ops. Champions League, I think we've really got to push the ball out and try and win that. Get into the group stages, because as we've been talking about all night, the finances is mega important to us, and that would get us, as well as selling maybe a couple of players and getting into that Champions League. That's the be all and end all at the moment, that and winning the title.
Yeah. Albert?
Quadruple.
You can dream, we can all dream, and that's right. You should have high expectations. GB?
I think I'd be happy with Champions League in the league, get Champions League group stages. Still winning it. Winning it would be good, wouldn't it?
No, you never know. Stranger things have happened. Juicy Bear.
Definitely the domestic league. Champions League last 16 would be superb. Europe after Christmas, if we were to finish third in the group stage and get Europa League, that would still be a massive achievement as well. But let's get into that group stage first. I'm not going to get too excited. Domestic cups is a bonus, but we want to be competing in them for sure. But we know the league is the important one.
Mm-hmm. Bridgeman.
For me, I would like to win, like Alec, I think it was Alec Kelly say that I'd like to do a sort of a treble. I'd like to see pick up the treble.
Yeah.
And of course,
go on a bridge.
I would want to get through into the Champions League proper. See how we go on there. I would really like that.
What's your priority there, Bridge? Would it be the League Cup or qualifying for the Champions League?
The priority for me would be if the Champions League was available, go for it. Get us through there. But I think we're good enough, even with the teams that the Southside said that introduced some youngsters. We have to be able to come out and show that we can beat a lot of these, shall we say, smaller teams and smaller clubs. But otherwise, we would end up having to play the same players, like for 66 games or something like that if we went a good way. So I think we want to be going for the treble, but utilising some of the players in the smaller competition and get all the money, all the prize money for it.
Aye, we'll see what it takes us. It's going to be exciting, Southside.
Well, aye, mate. I'm looking forward to it. It's been full of bees this week. B games and bands and new Blackpool, so. But I'm looking forward to it, mate.
What did you think of the? I know you were over by for the B game, mate. What did you think? Briefly, anybody shine? I know it was boys against men. No pun intended.
There was a lot of differences to the squad. Obviously, McPake was obviously you noticed him on the day. The boy Lovelace come on, and he's a bit of a unit, quite big. He had a couple of nice wee touches and that, but anybody thinks he'll get flung into the first team, he's nowhere near that, in my opinion. And the wee winger boy that we've got on trial, he scored the third goal. He looked quite decent. But no, there wasn't really anybody else stood out, Ox, to be honest. It was not a bad wee game. Just a wee jolly and back in the one day. But no, Lovelace boy, a lot of people might talk about him, but my opinion, you'll not be anywhere near the first team. You know, certainly for the future.
We've signed a lot of youths. We're replenishing that sort of age group in the team. People move on. We've made some money out of some of the players. The boy went to Villa. I think they get 350,000 for him, didn't they?
The striker.
Aye.
I
can't remember his name at the moment. But...
Yeah, come on. I'm not going to guess it.
Boy Wilson, was it?
What's happening with the young Colombian boy that was signed? He went into B-Team Allegra.
He wasn't in this. He wasn't in the squad, and that squad was probably a younger age group again slightly, because most of the boys like Lowry's obviously King's promoted males came out the squad, Cole McKinnon's came out the squad, none of them are all in it, you know. So the goalkeepers moved as well. So there was quite a lot of boys have moved up and moved on to that squad that played against Glentoran, you know. But there's some no bad wee players. It's just they looked that wee bit younger, and physically a lot of them aren't very well. They still look like wee boys now, you know.
All right, okay, thanks for that, Southside. Well, gentlemen, last word of the night for you, Gary B.
I'm just looking forward to watching the game tomorrow. Hopefully the floodlights are still on. I don't know if it's an afternoon kick-off.
You should never be short of lights in Blackpool, should you?
No. So, looking forward to just watching the game. If the missus lets me leave work, that's all.
Cool. AK.
Oh, thanks for taking my call. As usual, guys, always a pleasure. Hopefully the season goes as well as we all hope it will. But, have a good summer for the rest of the duration, and I'll probably speak to you whenever he's back.
It's your friend making his way to Blackpool. I believe it was Bard the last time he was there. Was he making his way?
The banger got the wrong train.
Yeah.
He was that drunk yet. I think he ended up at where was it again? Was it York or something? I don't know. He get a wrong train anyway, but he found his way home. But he's raging. The school's not letting him go. The mother, there's something that he needs to be there for. So, but he says he'll get the time off to watch it in the house. Probably cuddling into a bottle of vodka as well.
I'm sure it must be Sports Day or something before the heat, and he'll be in the three-legged race with the 5 or 6-year-olds, won't he?
He's about the same height as them too.
Albert.
I'm glad that the Rangers Radio pre-season's finished and that's us starting again, because I don't like that pre-season carry on. But it was good tonight. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, always good to hear from you, mate.
And yours.
Southside.
Aye, mate, thoroughly enjoyed it tonight. It's good to hear everybody, a few of the callers back on for the last time, Alex Kelly's and that. Thoroughly enjoyed the show. And I take it I'll catch you tomorrow, mate, for a couple of sherbets.
See you sometime, mate. I'm sure I'll see you at some time, yeah.
Aye.
I had a few texts for a certain guy. He's not happy with you.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I'm sure he'll come out. I'm sure we'll meet him for a sherbet or two tomorrow as well.
I'm sure we will. Bridgeman.
What can I say? What a wonderful, wonderful show. Shall we say, this is the beginning of the season again for us as far as the show is concerned. So, absolutely fantastic. Can I just say, well done to yourself, Voxchair, and all your team. Absolutely brilliant. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Great show. Can I just say to all the Rangers fans all over the world, and particularly Rangers fans on here on Rangers Radio, just remember who we are. We are the people. Keep it going for the Rangers, because the Rangers need us, and so do they. Keep it going.
Yeah. Can I thank Tosh and Bo Star who joined us, Gary Ballantyne, always good to hear for Gary, Alex Kelly. I was going to say it's always good to hear for Alex, but I can't lie. Of course, Juicy, Bridgeman, Southside, and of course my mate Albert for joining us on the show. And again, Fox and All School Blue for doing the technicals. Everybody for listening. This has been Rangers Radio. We'll be back on Monday night where we'll be discussing Saturday's game and the build-up once again in the new season. Thanks for listening. Stay safe. You're going to the game tomorrow. Enjoy it. Take it away. All School Blue.